Of basic hand tool work. Hey there friends, welcome to episode 3 of learning hand tool skills. We are going to be doing exercises 5 and 7. Again, we're following the exercise numbers, follow the sequence within the teacher's handbook of Sloyd, but we're changing the order up because it makes a little bit more sense. This one is called sawing off. And there's two types of sawing that we're going to do. First of all, we're going to do a cross cut going across the grain, and then we're doing a rip cut, or as the book calls it, long sawing. The tool that is used in the book is the broad-webbed bow saw. I do not have one of those. Okay, I have a turning saw. And the paddle just slipped out. I have a turning saw. So a bow saw looks very similar to this, except it's quite a bit larger and the blade is thicker. So it's called a broad-webbed bow saw. We are going to be doing it in, rather than the European continental tradition, we are going to be doing it through, hang on just a second, where did my saw go? All right, so we're going to do it through the English and American style, which is using a panel saw. I know this is not a vintage saw. I do have a vintage saw. It has not been restored. It hasn't even been sharpened, so I can't use that. But we're going to use the English and American version, and we're going to do the Japanese version using the pull saw. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your work is very solidly clamped down. Your clamp could be your knee if you have a bench saw, or saw bench. If you have a saw bench, you could actually put this on there, put your knee, and do the cutting, and that works just fine. This bench is actually, this riser is on top of my low bench, which would normally be used for that, so I'm not going to take that apart. But I have clamps here, vices, so I'm going to take advantage of that. So one option is to clamp it directly to the bench. Make sure you've got a nice cut. You'll use a square or some straight edge. Mark straight across there. Now, when we're talking about this, we are breaking down lumber. This is not your finished cut. This is not the final cut. You will come that in later and true that up, but this is just to get it to a workable size. So come in with that. Thumb close to the line. Don't come in at too sharp of an angle, otherwise your teeth are going to get buried. Just kind of kiss the top until you get started. Okay, you cut all the way through that using a push stroke with a Western style saw. The Japanese saw, on the other hand, has both a cut and a rip side, and this cuts on the pull stroke. So in this case, the rip teeth are the finer teeth on this side. The crosscut, I'm sorry, get that wrong. The rip teeth are the coarser ones at the top. They cut through very quickly. The crosscut ones are the finer ones down below that, and you will pull especially if you have younger woodworkers, it's a good idea to keep their hands out of the way so you can have them do a two-handed grip. Hey, what? Let's get the camera over here so we maybe get a better peek. Japanese saw, cut on the pull stroke. All the way through. Western saw, you're going to cut on the push stroke. This is very handy if you have the saw bench where you can get down over it and you're kind of putting your whole weight into it. All right, cut number 1, cross cut. Remember, again, we are just rough cutting. Cut number 2. This is now exercise 16 in the book. Is called the long cut. So in this case, we would mark a line. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 lines on here because we're going to do one with each saw. Now normally in a Western saw you would have one for cross-cutting and one for ripping, but this particular saw actually has dual ground teeth, so it is supposed to be good for both, and it is actually a one from Harbor Freight. So it's an inexpensive saw, but you use it basically the same way. You get your cut started and across the top. Once the cut is started, now you want to drop your hand down. Because remember last week when we talked about this grain being like a group of straws and that you want to support it? If you are pushing in this direction, you're actually cutting unsupported grain and you're likely to get tear out. If you drop your hand and cut this way, change angles here so see if we can get a better view of that. See, drop the hand, cut up. You are now cutting supported grain and you're less likely to get blowout in the back. That is exactly opposite of what you will do with a Japanese style saw because you're doing it on the pull stroke. So now if you're cutting with the Japanese saw, your supported grain will be on this side, your unsupported grain on this side. So once again, get it started. Once it's started, you are at the very least going to keep this flat, but if you can angle up slightly, you are now cutting supported grain. And again, once your cut is started, feel free to use a two-handed cut. And again, this is especially useful for young woodworkers, and if you're getting a child started in woodworking, I would really suggest getting a Japanese pull saw. They are inexpensive, easy to use, two-handed, helps keep that spare hand out of the way of a sharp blade. All right, friends, exercise 5 and 7. The cross cut, or sawing off, and the long cut, which we call rip cut. Hope this helps. Hope you like it. Again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. Get this out of the way. Okay, friends, till next time, take care. God bless.